Spanish claims to Alaska and the west coast of North America date to the Papal Bull of 1493, and the Treaty of Tordesillas, in 1513. This claim was reinforced by Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa, the first European to sight the Pacific Ocean, when he claimed all lands adjoining this ocean for the Spanish crown. Spain only started to colonize a claimed territory north of present-day Mexico in the 18th century, when it settled the northern coast of Las Californias. Starting in the mid-18th century, Spain's rights began to be challenged by British and Russian fur traders and colonizers. King Charles III of Spain and his successors sent a number of expeditions from New Spain to present-day Canada and Alaska between 1774 and 1793, to counter this threat and to defend Spanish territorial rights. During this period in history, a nation's claims or rights to a certain territory were legitimized by exploration and prior European discovery. 1774 Voyage of Perez. The first voyage was that of Juan José Pérez Hernández of the frigate Santiago. Although intending to reach Alaska, the expedition turned back at Haida-Gwaii. Perez and his crew of 86 were the first Europeans to visit the Pacific Northwest. 1775 Voyage of Hequieta and Bodega y Quadra. In 1775 a second voyage of 90 men led by Lieutenant Bruno de Hequieta aboard the Santiago set sail from San Blas, Nayarit on March 16. 1775 with orders to make clear Spanish claims for the entire northwestern Pacific coast. Accompanying Hequieta was the schooner Sonora, alias Felicidad, initially under the command of Juan Manuel de Ayala. The 36-foot-long Sonora and its crew complement of 16 were to perform coastal reconnaissance and mapping, and could make landfall in places the larger Santiago was unable to approach on its previous voyage. In this way, the expedition could officially reassert Spanish claims to the lands north of New Spain it visited. Ayala took command of the packet boat San Carlos, alias Oisandororo, also sailing with the expedition. After its initial commander, Miguel Manrique, took ill soon after leaving San Blas. Hequieta then gave Bodega y Quadra command of the Sonora. Francisco Antonio Morel served as Bodega y Quadra's pilot, and the two forged a strong and enduring friendship. The three vessels sailed together as far as Monterey Bay in Alta California. Ayala's mission was to explore the Golden Gate Strait, while Hequieta and Bodega y Quadra continued north. Ayala and the crew of the San Carlos became the first Europeans known to enter San Francisco Bay. The Santiago and Sonora continued sailing north together as far as Point Grenville, named Punta de los Martires by Hequieta in response to an attack by the local Quinault Indians. The vessels parted company on the evening of July 29, 1775. Scurvy had so weakened the crew of the Santiago that Hequieta decided to return to San Blas. On the way south he discovered the mouth of the Columbia River between present-day Oregon and Washington. Juan Perez, who was serving as Hequieta's pilot, died during the voyage south. Bodega y Quadra in the Sonora moved up the coast according to the expedition's orders, ultimately reaching the latitude 58 degrees north on August 15, and entering Sitka Sound near the present-day town of Sitka, Alaska. During the return voyage south, Bodega y Quadra discovered, named, and explored a portion of Bucareli Bay on the west side of Prince of Wales Island. During Bodega y Quadra's voyage, numerous acts of sovereignty were performed. Many place names were given, including Puerto de Bucareli, Puerto de los Remedios, and Mount San Jacinto, renamed Mount Edgecombe by British explorer James Cook 3 years later. 1779 Voyage of Vartiga and Bodega y Quadra. A third voyage took place in 1779 under the command of Ignacio de Artiga with two armed corvettes, the Favorita under Artiga and the Princesa under Bodega y Quadra. With Artiga on the Favorita was Second Officer Fernando Quiros y Miranda, Sergeant Juan Garcia, Pilot Jose Camacho, and Second Pilot Juan Pantoja y Araja. With Bodega y Quadra on the Princesa was Second Officer Francisco Antonio Mural, Surgeon Mariano Núñez Esquivel, Pilot Jose Canizas, and Second Pilot Juan Bautista Aguirre. The expedition's objective was to evaluate the Russian penetration of Alaska, search for a northwest passage, and capture James Cook if they found him in Spanish waters. Spain had learned about Cook's 1778 explorations along the coast of the Pacific Northwest. In June 1779, during the expedition of Vartiga and Bodega y Quadra, Spain entered the American Revolutionary War as an ally of France, precipitating a parallel Anglo-Spanish War, which continued until the 1783 Treaty of Paris. Artiga and Bodega y Quadra did not find Cook, who had been killed in Hawaii in February 1779. During the voyage, Artiga and Bodega y Quadra carefully surveyed Bucareli Bay, then headed north to Port Etches on Hinchinbrook Island. They entered Prince William Sound and reached a latitude of 61 degrees, the most northern point obtained by the Spanish explorations of Alaska. They also explored Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula, where a possession ceremony was performed on August 2 in what today is called Port Chatham. Due to various sicknesses among the crew, Artiga returned to California without finding the Russians. Throughout the voyage, the crews of both vessels endured many hardships, including food shortages and scurvy. On September 8, the ships rejoined and headed south for the return trip to San Blas. Although the Spanish were normally secretive about their exploring voyages and the discoveries made, the 1779 voyage of Vartiga and Bodega y Quadra became widely known. Le Perez obtained a copy of the map, which was published in 1798. Morrell's journal was acquired and published in London in 1798 by Daines Barrington. After these three exploration voyages to Alaska within 5 years, there were no further Spanish expeditions to the Pacific Northwest until 1788. After the Treaty of Paris ended the war between Spain and Britain. During the war, Spain dedicated the port of San Blas to the war effort in the Philippines. Voyages of exploration were suspended. Support of Alta California, which depended upon San Blas, was minimal. By 1786, Alta California had become nearly self-supporting and peace with Britain was restored, making further voyages to Alaska possible. 1788 Voyage of Martinez and Haro. In March 1788, two ships were sent north from San Blas to investigate Russian activity. Esteban José Martinez, on the Princesa, was in command of the expedition, accompanied by the San Carlos under Gonzalo López de Haro, with José María Narváez serving as Herod's pilot. The ships arrived at Prince William Sound in May. Following evidence of Russian fur trading activity, the ships sailed west. In June, Haro reached Kodiak Island and learned from the natives that a Russian post was nearby. On June 30, 1788, Haro sent Narváez in a longboat to look for the Russian post at Three Saints Bay. Narváez found the post, becoming the first Spaniard to make contact with a large contingent of Russians in Alaska. Narváez Narvaez took the Russian commander Evstrat Delaroff to meet Taro on the San Carlos, then returned him to his outpost. Delaroff gave Narvaez a Russian map of the Alaskan coast and indicated the locations of 7 Russian posts containing nearly 500 men. Delaroff also told Narvaez that the Russians intended to occupy Nootka Sound on the west coast of Vancouver Island. After this meeting, Haro sailed east and joined Martinez at Sidkanak Island. Using the information acquired from Delaroff, the expedition sailed to Unalaska Island, where there was a large Russian post, also called Unalaska, under the command of Potap Kuzmich Zykov. Martinez arrived on July 29, Haro on August 4. Zykov gave Martinez 3 maps covering the Aleutian Islands. He also confirmed that the Russians planned to take possession of Nootka Sound the next year. Zykov explained that 2 Russian frigates were already on the way, and a third which was to sail to Nootka Sound. He was referring to the 1789 expedition of Joseph Billings, but greatly exaggerating its mission. The visit to Unalaska marks the westernmost point reached during the Spanish voyages of exploration in Alaska. The Spanish expedition left Unalaska on August 18, 1788, heading south for California and Mexico. Due to increasing conflict between Martinez and Haro, the ships broke off contact within 3 days, sailed south separately. Martinez had allowed this but ordered Haro to rejoin him at Monterey, California. But during the voyage south, Haro, with support from Narvaez and the other pilots, declared his ship no longer under Martinez's command. They sailed back to San Blas on their own, arriving on October 22, 1788. Martinez spent a month in Monterey waiting for Haro. He arrived at San Blas in December, where he found himself faced with charges of irresponsible leadership. He soon regained favor and was placed in charge of a new expedition to occupy Nootka Sound before the Russians did. This expedition took place in 1789, culminating in the Nootka Crisis. 1789 settlement in Nootka Sound. Following up on the 1788 voyage to Alaska, Martinez and Haro were ordered to preemptively take possession of Nootka Sound before the Russians or British could. Events at Nootka Sound in 1789 lead to the Nootka Crisis. During the summer of 1789, Martinez sent José María Narvaez to explore the Strait of Juan de Fuca in the Santa Gertrudis La Magna. Narvaez found the Strait of Juan de Fuca to be a large inlet with much promise for further exploration. By the end of the year, Martinez abandoned Nootka Sound. 1790 Spanish base in Nootka Sound. The Nootka Crisis became a major international incident, nearly leading to war between Spain and Britain. As the process unfolded, the Viceroy of New Spain decided it was important to establish a permanent base at Nootka Sound. 3 ships sailed to Nootka Sound, with Francisco de Eliza as the overall commander and captain of the Concepcion. Manuel Quimper captained the Princesa Real. Salvador Fidalgo captained the San Carlos. The first settlement in present-day British Columbia was built on Nootka Sound, Santa Cruz de Nootka, as well as Fort San Miguel, manned by soldiers of the First Company of Free Company of Volunteers of Catalonia under Pedro de Alberni. After getting settled, Eliza dispatched Fidalgo and Quimper on exploration voyages. Fidalgo was sent north and Quimper south. 1790 Voyage of Fidalgo. In 1790, Spanish explorer Salvador Fidalgo took the San Carlos to Alaska, visiting and naming Cordova Bay and Port Valdez in Prince William Sound. Acts of sovereignty were performed at both places. Fidalgo entered Cook Inlet and found the Russian post Pavlovskaya, the Pavel Lebedev-Vostokhan Company post at the mouth of the Kenai River. Fidalgo did not stop at the post but fleet continued west to Kodiak Island, where he noted Shellikov's post. Fidalgo then went to the Russian settlement at Alexandrovsk, southwest of today's Anchorage on the Kenai Peninsula, where again, Fidalgo asserted the Spanish claim to the area by conducting a formal ceremony of sovereignty. 1790 Voyage of Quimper. In 1790 Manuel Quimper, with officers Lopez de Haro and Juan Carrasco, sailed the Princesa Real into the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Following up on Voyage of Narvaez the previous year, Quimper sailed to the eastern end of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, discovering the San Juan Islands and many straits and inlets. Having limited time, he had to return to Nootka without fully exploring the promising straits and inlets. Contrary winds made it impossible to sail the small vessel to Nootka, so Quimper went south to San Blas instead. 1791 Voyage of Eliza. In 1791 Francisco de Eliza was ordered to continue the exploration of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. The voyage consisted of 2 vessels. Eliza sailed on the San Carlos with Pantoja as his pilot. Narvaez sailed on the Santa Saturnina, with Carrasco and Verdier as pilots. During the voyage the Strait of Georgia was discovered, and Narvaez conducted a quick exploration of most of it. Eliza sailed the San Carlos back to Nootka Sound, but the Santa Saturnina, under Carrasco, failed to reach Nootka and instead sailed south to Monterey and San Blas. In Monterey, Carrasco met Alessandro Malaspina and told him about the discovery of the Strait of Georgia. This meeting led directly to the 1792 Voyage of Galiano and Valde. 1789 to 1794 Voyage of Malaspina and Bustamante. The King of Spain gave Alejandro Malaspina and José de Bustamante y Guerra command of an around-the-world scientific expedition with 2 corvettes, the Descubierta and Atrevida. One of the king's orders was to investigate a possible northwest passage. The expedition was also to search for gold, precious stones, and any American, British, or Russian settlements along the northwest coast. Arriving in Alaska in 1791, Malaspina and Bustamante surveyed the coast to the Prince William Sound. At Yakutat Bay, the expedition made contact with the Tlingit. Spanish scholars made a study of the tribe, recording information on social mores, language, economy, warfare methods, and burial practices. Artists with the expedition, Tomás de Sarriá and José Cardero, produced portraits of tribal members and scenes of Tlingit daily life. Malaspina Glacier, between Yakutat Bay and Icy Bay, was subsequently named after Alessandro Malaspina. 1792 Voyage of Galiano and Valde. In 1792 Dionisio Alcala Galiano on the Sutil and Cayetano Valde y Flores on the Mexicana sailed from San Blas to Nootka Sound, then circumnavigated Vancouver Island. An account of the Voyage of Galiano and Valde, in contrast, was published in Spain and widely promoted, overshadowing the more significant Voyage of Malaspina, who had become a political prisoner shortly after returning to Spain. 1792 Voyage of Karma. Jacinto Carmano, commander of the frigate Aranzazu, sailed to Bucareli Bay in 1792. Juan Pantoja y Aragua served as his pilot. Carmano conducted a detailed survey of the coast south to Nootka Sound on Vancouver Island. By 1792 much of the coast had already been visited by European explorers, but some areas had been overlooked, such as the southern part of Prince of Wales Island. A number of Carmano's place names in the area have survived, such as Cordova Bay, Revillagigedo Channel, Bocas de Quadra, and in what is now called Carmano Passage, Zayas Island. No report on Carmino's voyage was published until long after, and his discoveries remained obscure, although George Vancouver apparently met Carmino and obtained copies of his maps, especially of areas north of Dixon Entrance. Vancouver later incorporated some of Carmino's place names into his atlas. 1793 Voyage of Eliza and Martinez Juarez. In 1793 Francisco de Eliza and Juan Martinez Juarez surveyed the coast between the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the San Francisco Bay. They also explored the mouth of the Columbia River. Legacy. In the end, Spain withdrew from the North Pacific and transferred its claims in the region to the United States in the Adams-Onis Treaty of 1819. Today, Spain's legacy in Alaska and the Pacific Northwest endures as a number of place names, such as Malaspina Glacier, Revillagigedo Island, the towns of Valdez and Cordova, and numerous smaller features.